Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Daniel Emery Taylor of Return of the Swamp Thing and many other cool things. It's very cool to have you here.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I have my new lights. I'm very bright. I think I might be too bright, but we won't bother about that. So, first of all, how did you get the role in Return of the Swamp Thing?
You know, it was, I kind of fell into it. I had got cast in a school play in first grade. It was first grade. And got cast as the lead in the Christmas play because I was the only one the suit would fit. And I guess I was just a little ham and a show off, and a local talent agent saw me and asked me to come audition for a couple of things. And Swamp Thing was actually the second thing I ever auditioned for. And I got it, and kind of the ball was rolling from there.
Yeah. So before the play, did you have any inclination, like I would like to act or be on stage or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those things, every kid wants to be a movie star or whatever, but nothing serious. I was kind of a shy kid in front of people, but for some reason, put me in front of a camera or put me on stage, and I just kind of decided to show out. So, but no, it wasn't anything that at that point that, I'd ever thought was even a possibility.
Yeah. What was the role, by the way, in the Christmas play?
I played, it was the play was the night before Christmas, and I played the father. So I was the one in my, little.
Yeah. So you were like the dad, and you were like a little kid. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
And well, the funny thing is I was initially cast as a gift box. I was supposed to sit there and look enticing under the Christmas tree.
Right.
The kid who was initially cast as the father got sick, and again, I was the only one the little sleep outfit would fit. So, yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. Have you ever been cast as a box since then? Maybe it's a role you can finally get at some point.
I feel like I need to. I feel like my final acting role, if I ever decide to retire, my final acting role needs to be a box. I need to come full circle.
Exactly. It's one I'm looking forward to. So, were you familiar with Swamp Thing, either the comics or the original movie at the time?
No. At the time I wasn't, but I got familiar. It's weird, I sometimes you'll hear people will say things that people will get cast in a big reboot or a remake or a sequel, and then they'll say that they never saw the original film. I was watching behind the scenes not that long ago, and Rooney Mara had never seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street. She was cast to play Nancy in the reboot. That's weird to me. Like, I understand that you want to not have something affect your performance, but
right.
Did research. And even now, if I get cast in anything that I'm not, or like a topic I'm not familiar with or anything, I do research. And yeah, when I got cast as Swamp Thing, Mom bought the VHS and we watched the movie, and I got comic books, and I tried to familiarize myself. I wanted to know, kind of what I was getting into.
Yeah. Doing the show, I'm always surprised by that too, when people say I get if you just had never seen it before, but then either you're going to audition or you do get the role, you think you would at least go and check it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's my philosophy, but I mean, whatever, Rooney Mara is doing fine. Whatever she's doing is working for her. So,
right. Do you know what, for the audition, do you remember what scene it was?
Yes, it was. I think there's two scenes there. There's, because the casting process was, we had a local audition for the local agent, and then once we got past that, we were sent to Atlanta for kind of the main casting director. So the first scene I did was the scene where we're looking at the porno mags, and they just gave us like a Vanity Fair or whatever there in the office. So I had to pretend, and I think that's really what sold them on it. Was I was like, oh wow, look at these babes, and it was just like an ad for Volkswagen or something. So there was that, and then the scene with the main casting director in Atlanta was, well, I have to open the door and we see the leech standing there and we scream. So those were the two scenes that we auditioned with.
Yeah, they're both very fun scenes. Did you audition with Ronrico?
No,
or were they separate?
No, they had us. When I did the main audition in Atlanta, Yeah, I was just alone. But when the local, they just paired us with just various kids, just whoever was there.
I was just wondering, like, if they did anything to see, like, if you guys had chemistry together at any point, or.
I think they do that on bigger productions, but Swamp Thing was a very low budget kind of fare. So
I listened to the new commentary track on the new Blu-ray that's coming out, and Jim Wynorski said the original script that your characters weren't in it, and when he rewrote it, that was something he added were the kids. Because he felt like it's a comic book thing, they should have kids. And he also said that both the characters are kind of him at different aspects of him. So did he ever mention that to you, like when you get the role, like this is sort of like me, or go over anything like that?
Not explicitly, but you kind of got the idea, because just I think he enjoyed directing us. And Jim Wynorski, and I love Mr. Jim. Mr. Jim and I have been friends since, so we're he's been a presence in my entire life. But he's a little volatile, I think. People will say. Anybody who's seen Papadopoulos and seen Mr. Jim at work knows that he is a guy with not necessarily the longest
fuse, maybe, but
he's not without the longest fuse. He doesn't have a lot of patience. But he was very, very kind to us, very hands-on, very, very patient with us. We had 1,000 questions because we were kids, and he was he legitimately seemed like he enjoyed directing us. Whereas other people he may not, he may be snapping at. With us, he was always very, very kind. And I kind of got the idea that, he probably saw himself in both of us to some degree.
Yeah, it's funny in the commentary because he does seem to like genuinely like you, but both when he's talking about. And there's a couple people in the movie he just straight out says like he hated, which I found very funny.
Jourdan,
yeah. What was he like? Did you feel the same way as Jim Wynorski? Or?
I met him once, and he was polite, but I got the idea that he did not like me being around, so I went and did something else. So. Yeah. We didn't have any scenes together, but we were on set together, and you kind of get the idea when somebody doesn't want you there at that particular moment. Yeah. But a lot of the other people, Joey Segal was amazing, fantastic. Heather Locklear, just so sweet. Dick Durock, the Swamp Thing, was just such a nice guy. Chris Doyle, who played the Leech. I mean, there's everybody. I mean, really, Louis Jourdan was the only really negative experience. Everybody else was great. I didn't meet Sarah Douglas until we did our ADR session, our voiceover session. But she was amazing as well. So everybody was great. Just Louis Jourdan, not the nicest guy.
Right. Watching it recently again, because I watched when I was a kid, and then watching the Blu-ray. First of all, it looks awesome, but I think it really comes through that like everyone's having a good time, and Jim Wynorski, I think, really loved the subject matter and the comic book aspect, because I think there's a lot of comic book stuff in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's a lot of like Alan Moore hardcore fans who didn't necessarily like the direction it went in, but it was made as like a 50s style, monster beat 'em up movie. And I think as that, it's a lot of fun and it really works. I mean, I can understand, again, some of the, more hardcore fans maybe didn't get what they wanted out of the Swamp Thing movie. But I think, for what it was, I think it was a lot of fun. And everybody had a blast making it.
So they're rebooting it, and I saw on your Facebook you want people to let's get a cameo in here for you.
Yeah, I was joking, but no, I would have a cameo. If anybody knows James Gunn, tell him. I always pictured my character Daryl. I kind of thought like, what would he be doing now? And I picture him like on the side of the road selling Swamp Thing T-shirts, like these like Bigfoot guys. Like I saw the Swamp Thing. Here's a blurry photograph, and here's a T-shirt and a commemorative mug. But no, I think that would be a lot of fun. Swamp Thing's a great character. I mean, it's even over the years, I've read the entire run up to the recent stuff. And because people always want to come and talk to me about Swamp Thing at the conventions and things. And so I like to, I wanted to make sure I had all the right information. But it's a great character. I love it, especially those early days where it's almost more of like a monster magazine, sort of a Frankenstein-esque type thing. And the fact that they say they're going to do it closer to a horror film, I think is perfectly on point. I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, I am too. And not that I say you will or not be, but I do think you'd probably have a better chance for a cameo in a James Gunn movie because he has his roots in trauma, and he always puts Lloyd Kaufman and stuff. So if he hears about it, I think I have no idea, but I think it would be a better chance than if someone else was making it.
Everybody tweet at him, tell him I need to be a cameo.
Exactly. So was that your real accent in the movie at the time?
It was. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Still live in Birmingham now. Or have moved back to Birmingham. And that was my natural accent. People always ask, well, how did you lose the accent? Well, I still have a Southern accent, obviously, but it's they sent me for diction lessons. And the idea being that if you lose the accent, you have a wider variety of roles that you can audition for. And so I went to diction classes once and figured out that I could just do that by imitating people on television.
Right.
There, and the lady was like, read after me, the wind and the willows. And I'm like, the wind and the willers. No, the wind and the willows. So I started imitating people on television, and that's kind of how I developed the accent that I would have.
But I would assume for this one, you wanted the accent. It's probably they wanted the accent. I think,
yeah, definitely, because everybody in the South sounds like that, or so they think.
For us up north, yes. The guy started the show with is from West Virginia, so I used to give him a hard time about that. But it was all in fun. Yeah. So did you do? I assume you did. You did your own stunts in the movie when you're flipping over the chair and jumping out.
I did. Yeah. Flipped over the chair, climbing out the window, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Was any of that difficult?
They didn't let me throw the bowling ball though. They had to stop.
Okay.
No.
How about, was that your own clothes? You had some cool shirts at the time.
It was, they had clothes there for me, but they liked what I brought more. So I ended up, they reimbursed or whatever. Like little Hawaiian. I still wear little Hawaiian shirts, the Auburn sweatshirt, which here in Alabama, everybody always loves the Auburn sweatshirt. That was all my stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, the Hawaiian shirt looked like something I would have worn about the same time. So I was very happy with it.
It was very 80s. Yes.
Yeah. I was born in 76. So I don't know. I might be a little younger or around the same age probably, but how about Leech Man? So that is a very fun scene, and I'm a big fan of Man on Fire in movies. You don't really see it too much anymore because it's CG, but there's always just something very fun about a guy flailing around on fire. Were you there for that scene? When he
I was. Yeah. Tony Cecere was the stunt person who did that. He had done the same stunt in Ghostbusters for Stay Puft when Stay Puft is on fire. That's Tony.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just to see kind of how they did it, and they wrapped him in wet rags and put, there's like the salve all over him, and it was quite a process. But no, it was it's kind of funny. Like when you watch the scene, it's like he kind of starts off in a slow trot, and then as he gets close to the water, he's like running. Yeah,
yeah.
He was getting a little warm.
Yeah, Leech Man's trying to get into the water at that point.
Yeah.
But another thing too, when I'm watching now, the monsters are really fun in it. Because to me, practical monsters, even if they're not the best, though they look good in this, there's always a charm to them, where I think bad CG is just kind of bad. But this is really fun. Everything looks awesome. So
yeah, I agree. And to me, I mean, and I may be biased and probably am, but to me, that's the best the Swamp Thing has ever looked.
I agree.
Just the suit, it was amazing. It took him 4 hours to get into it every day. But it looked realistic. It looked as good standing next to it as it did on screen. I mean, he was Swamp Thing. I mean, that was the whole thing. And it made it really easy to act because you didn't really have to, there wasn't any suspension of disbelief. I mean, he just was Swamp Thing when he was on set.
Yeah, I was thinking that I was watching, especially when you're a kid, like it's, if they tell you, hey, pretend there's a Leech Man here or something, if it's CG. But I assume it would be a lot more fun acting with an actual Leech Man and the swamp thing looking cool. And I saw a lot of like behind the scenes pictures of yours on Facebook, and you could tell like you're having a good time with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he looks like he's having fun too.
Yeah, the whole thing, and just it was just such a great experience all the way around. And Dick Durock, like I said, just the nicest guy, and seemed to really enjoy the role, and I had such an affinity for the character. And that's something that I don't think you get from like a CG character, because if somebody's just doing a voice or just doing mocap or something, I don't think they've got the connection to the character they would if they were actually suited up.
Yeah. So were you there for the explosions? There's a lot of explosions in the movie.
I was there. I was on set, but not there when they did the Uncle Shed's explosion with all the cars and everything. They did that one night after we left. And then when Leech Man explodes in the water, we were there. We were back, several hundred yards or whatever. But we weren't there when they blew up the mansion or anything like that. But yeah, when they blew up all the cars, we were on set, but we weren't there in that location.
Yeah. Is there any difficulties filming in a swamp?
I got bronchitis as soon as I got there.
Oh, wow.
And the first scene that I'm in, or the first scene that I filmed, is the one where we come out from the pool and we're discussing we're going to take a picture of the swamp, whatever. And if you listen, I'm like stuffed up, like in that scene, my voice is like muffled and everything because I can't breathe. But that was it that I really went through. A lot of snakes and alligators and stuff. They would beat the water with sticks every time before we would get in, which is my mom thought that was really disturbing. But I was just like, just the thing they did,
yeah.
Get in there, beat the water.
It's probably cool when you're at that age. Oh, look, there's an alligator or something. But
but no, aside from that, it was just it's no different from anywhere else. It's I shot a film that I directed originally called Fat Chance, but the distributor renamed it Camp Massacre. But we shot it down in Marion, Alabama, which was all woods, and we all got chiggers, which are like just little bug type things that burrow under.
Yeah, I know the name, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, every one of us. The next day on set, we all had big red splotches all over us because we all had chiggers and everything else, and that. Didn't have anything like that on Swamp Thing. So that was anytime you're filming on location, you're going to run into little things like that.
You mentioned your mom. What did she think when you get the role? First of all, it's a movie, a feature movie. That's going to be cool. But it's horror, but it's comedy. Was she apprehensive at all?
No, Mom. There was never any. Mom's an interesting person, and I'm an interesting person. So. There was never any rules about what I could or couldn't watch or anything like that. So I was watching Fright Night, Reanimator, stuff like that when I was 5-6 years old.
Yeah. Same with my mom. So yeah.
My mom's whole philosophy was, now she didn't let me watch anything sexual, but her whole philosophy was, let him watch it, let him know that this is just fake, it's make believe, and then he won't ever be scared of anything like that. And I think it worked. I think it was a good philosophy to have, but no, it was, I was already well versed in horror by the time I started acting, so no apprehension at all. And her view of it was always kind of, she knew I was a good kid and was going to be a good kid, and it's just having a good time.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Is because I always think it's funny when I see people on Facebook or social media and they say like this movie wasn't scary or they want a movie that scares them, and I always think like, if I only liked horror movies that scared me, like I probably wouldn't have liked anything since I was like 5 or 6. Because if you grew up watching them, not to be a tough guy, but you're not really going to be afraid of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
you might have like a jump scare, but not like I'm like.
Yeah, it's like nothing. You watch horror movies for the thrill and for the enjoyment of it, but nothing's really, nothing's going to make you check under the covers or anything at night.
Make sure Leech Man's not here. But, So was there any talks of doing a sequel while you're making the movie or, afterwards?
Nothing serious that I ever heard. There were talks at one point about the show being a continuation of the movie. And that possibly I could have been on the show, but then when they did the show, they went in a completely different direction with it. And then they used my character in the cartoon. But no, nothing to my knowledge or recollection. There was never any serious talks about a sequel that I was privy to.
When they used your character in the cartoon, did they ask you about doing the voice at all, or?
No, it was, I kind of almost found out about it like after it was being done. And they just got, whoever, I think they had like 3-4 people that did every voice on the cartoon. So it was just
from my understanding, especially earlier, that's a hard thing to break into is voice acting, because there is like a community that do most of the voices.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've heard. I've got some friends who do like anime dubs and things like that, and it's kind of it's an exclusive club for sure.
Yeah. Did that hurt your feelings though at the time?
No, not really. I would more than anything, I was really flattered that they had turned me into a cartoon.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to say that.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool too. Hey, I'm a cartoon in this movie.
I hate that they never made me an action figure. I was hopefully, or regrettably, if the cartoon had gone long enough, maybe they would have made me an action figure, but they never did.
Yeah. Did you watch I have to admit I've never seen the more recent TV show. I think because it only lasted a season, and then I kind of knew I just feel like not to watch because I don't think it really had an ending. But did you watch the season when it was on?
I didn't. It was another one that I had intended to, and it's for the exact same reason. It's like, well, I've started too many shows that never had an ending.
It's just annoying. So
yeah. But Derek Mears I've met Derek.
Great guy. Yeah.
Mears great. I'm sure he did a fantastic job, and I'll probably get around to watching it someday, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah, I like Derek too. The first panel I hosted, he was in the panel, and I'm 5'4", so it's a very fun difference.
Yeah, he's a tall guy. Yeah,
and he does comedy too. I don't know why that seems odd, a tall guy doing comedy, but it seems strange for me.
Yeah, but just Derek's a fantastic actor, and just maybe we'll get to work together one day. That'd be a lot of fun.
So the first time you got to see the finished movie, what was that experience like?
The first time I got to see the finished movie was actually the world premiere we did in Savannah, Georgia. And it was cool. They had Dick there in the Swamp Thing outfit, and they drove us in one of the Arcane Jeeps. And it was, for me at the time, it was a big to-do. Now, looking back on it, it's like, yeah, this is just kind of like, a small local thing. But for me at the time, they made us feel like movie stars, because there was like a local radio host there, hosted the whole thing. And they did like a Q&A session before the movie in front of everybody. And we got to sign autographs and all that kind of good stuff. But it was great. I had already seen a rough cut of the film. Jim Wynorski had actually sent me a VHS.
Oh,
it was a complete cut, but it hadn't been colored and didn't have all the and everything in place. So that was the first thing that stood out to me was I didn't realize how much is done in post. So the first time I see the movie, everything's very brown because the swamp was brown. It was, and in the movie, it looks great. It's green, it's lush, it's all these flowers. And in real life, it was brown. It was muddy brown water, brown trees. And that's how it looks in the movie, in the first cut that I got. So the thing that really stood out to me the first time I saw it was how great everything looked. The Leech Man was wearing like green army fatigue, pants and a shirt, but in the movie it looks blue. They recolored it. Same thing, like all the trees and the leaves and everything are so green. The sky is blue, the waters, and that was one of the things that really made me want to get into filmmaking myself was just how much you can manipulate the image. It's like what you're seeing is not real. You understood special effects, you understood, things like that, but just even the image itself, how much that's manipulated. And that was really the thing that stood out to me was just how vibrant the colors were in the finished product and how much everything stood out because it was not that was not what I was expecting because I had seen basically the rough footage.
So you said there that's kind of like what made you want to start making your own movie. So how early on did you like pursue that?
I started writing scripts immediately. Now they were awful because I was like 9-10 years old.
Right.
But I started writing scripts immediately. From that point on, that was always the plan. Just because on set, the parents and then a lot of the other actors, everything wanted to hang out with Heather Locklear. They wanted to hang out with Joey Segal. They wanted to hang out with, the good looking movie star people. I was hanging out with Bob Shelley and the special effects guys. I was hanging out with Jim Wynorski. I was hanging out with Jourdan, the DP, because I wanted to know how they were doing what they were doing. And that to me was really the most appealing aspect. I enjoy acting. I love acting. Acting is so much fun. It's still something, even now in my own projects, I always make sure I have a small role just so I can, kind of stretch my legs a little bit and have some fun. But really it's the, crafting of a picture is the thing that I find so fascinating because you can do so much, people don't even realize just cheating, shots and things like that. It's just, you can manipulate the image to such a degree just naturally, with what you see, in camera. It's just, it's like a game. It's amazing.
Well, it's interesting when you said there because like today, a lot of people with the internet, you could go and you could research a lot of things, how to do these things.
Yeah.
This is definitely pre-internet. So kind of your film school in a way is on set, watching the other people, how to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to absorb everything that I could, and just kind of, remembering and talking and asking a lot of questions. I know I must have, driven people crazy because again, I probably asked 1,000 questions of everybody, but everybody was so great about it.
Yeah. So were you always into horror movies?
I was a horror kid from pretty much the start. I liked, Universal monster movies and things growing up. And then again, about the time I hit 5, 6, I started watching Bright Night and Elm Street 2 and Reanimator and just kind of, off from there. A little bit later on, got really into Tales from the Crypt when it was on. I was probably 8, 9, 10. So yeah, I was always a horror guy.
Yeah. So what was the first thing you directed then?
I co-directed a film called The Hospital.
With John Dugan.
Yeah, John Dugan was in that. Regrettably, I'm sure he would say. It was not a very good film, but I tell people it was cheaper than film school. So,
now, I'll be honest, that comes up a lot though. On interviews I do and most of my friends do who make movies. Hardly any of them went to film school, but a lot of them either learned on films or making their own thing.
Yep, you learn a lot. I mean, really, the way I learn, I have to learn hands on. So getting out there and doing it is really the best way to do it. I co-directed 3 films: Hospital 2, and Fat Chance, which again was renamed Camp Massacre. And then I directed my first solo feature back in 2018 called It's Just a Game. So, and then I've got one that I'm shooting here probably in June. So just kind of keep plugging along and hopefully getting better every time out.
Yeah. Well, John came back for the sequel, right? So he must not have had too bad of a time for the first one.
Oh, he wasn't in the sequel. He was in the sequel as a flash.
Oh, he wasn't? Oh, okay.
No.
I'm friends with John. What was John like on the set?
Oh, John's great. Yeah, John and I have been friends for several years. We met doing a convention together in Birmingham, and we just kind of hit it off, and we've been friends since. So, yeah, John's always a blast and great storyteller. Always has great stories.
Yeah. So when you started doing the conventions and did you know Return of Swamps thing had like a following or? Not really. Because it was a film that, it played USA Up All Night a lot and things like that, but you didn't really hear a lot about it until I started doing the conventions and I realized that it did have this huge cult following because it didn't
it didn't even really get a theatrical release in Birmingham. We fought and got it released for 1 week in one theater here, so we did like a little local premiere for it. But it was was not a wide release. It hit video, and like I said, it played USA from time to time. But it was just kind of went through life, just kind of. And this was all pre-internet, so went through life just kind of thinking like I did this movie that nobody watched until you start getting out and interacting with fans, and you realize people will come up to me and say, "Oh, I used to pretend to be you," which is weird for somebody to say, but it's very flattering.
Yeah.
I never thought that anybody was, running around their backyard pretending to be me. That's a weird thought to me.
Honestly, nice to hear. It's a very likable character, and I think a lot of people, especially like young, when you grew up a horror fan and stuff, I think it's a very relatable character and performance.
Yeah, definitely. But Swamp Thing fans are fantastic, and any convention I do, it's always out there, pushing my new stuff. But Swamp Thing,
of course,
Swamp Thing is always the thing that gets me in the door and that people are most excited about. So,
what's the movie you're working on now?
Movie I'm doing now is called Foxglove Candy, and it's kind of I call it a drive-in style thriller. It's fashioned after the films of like Jack Hill and Russ Meyer and Roger Corman, just kind of about these 3 young ladies who meet guys and rob them and occasionally murder. And it's kind of the adventures of 3 young women in the city.
Yeah. Well, that sounds very fun. And so when you're at the conventions, I know you got Jourdan in the movie. Do you, when you're meeting the other actors, do you ever talk about collaborating with them?
Yeah, sometimes, when it comes up, you never want to be that guy like, hey,
yeah, you want to be annoying.
Let's go. I got the script, but yeah, you kind of get, build relationships with people. And a lot of these people you see time and time again, and, and then you kind of become friends with everybody. So it kind of comes up. Yeah.
Where are you located?
I'm in Birmingham. Yeah,
that's right. So is it? Well, I was just wondering about the film community there, because I do think some people think if you don't live in LA or Atlanta now or something, New York, you there's no film community. But I think there's an independent film community everywhere. You just have to try to find it.
Yeah. Alabama's got a huge film community. We have one in Birmingham. We have one up in a city called Huntsville, which is a little bit closer to the northern Alabama border. Atlanta, I mean, they do more filming in Atlanta now than they do in LA. New Orleans has a huge film community, up in Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Nashville. So yeah, I've interacted with all these groups, but yeah, here locally we have a very, very active film community. We have a film festival called Sidewalk Film Festival. That's a pretty big deal every year. So.
Yeah, that was the main thing I missed during COVID was film festivals.
Oh yeah.
There's something about, not just watching a movie on the big screen. I think that's the best way to watch a movie, but with fellow films, people who make the movies and the fans, everyone has a common love of the genre. It's just a good time.
Yeah. Especially, I like the genre festivals, the horror festivals, but just film festivals in general. It's just good to get out and, interact with people who love film, who appreciate it. And I agree. Yeah, I'm a big cinema guy. I think movies should be seen on the big screen if at all possible.
Yeah. I go multiple times a week because it's the best way. And the festivals, which is fun, is a lot of times you don't really know too much about the movie when you go in. And I always think that's the best way also to watch a movie. Just go in almost cold and, because a lot of times a trailer will ruin it. And also a lot of the film festivals, the movies don't necessarily fit into one genre. So they're very strange and maybe something that wouldn't play, like a mainstream movie.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing I like too, a lot of the film festivals, you get to interact with the filmmakers.
Yeah.
Because they're there, trying to see how people like their movies and things like that. So it's just always a good time.
Yeah. And you can do karaoke after or whatever.
Oh yes, there's always adult beverages to be enjoyed and everything else. Yeah.
I stopped drinking. I'm not telling everyone. I don't care what people do, but but in March it'll be 4 years since I drank. But I have noticed that karaoke sober is not a good time. So if you want to keep enjoying karaoke, keep drinking is my message. So where can people do you have a website or social media page for your films?
I just do everything through social media. So Daniel Emery Taylor on Facebook. I've got a link tree that you can find on my Facebook, but it's got all my Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and everything. So I try to be out there, on all the platforms. But that, and then I post. I've got a personal personal Facebook page that people can still request me on, and I've also got the fan page or the official verified whatever page, but I don't really update that ever. So I just use my primary Facebook account.
Honestly, with Facebook, the pages, it's very hard for them to get actual views.
Right. You've got 2,000-3,000 people following the page, and then you post and it's like 48 people saw this. I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah. And 2 people liked it or so, you might as well just post it on your, no one cares about this, but over the years, this is how social media has gone. Mm-hmm. Back when I started the show, it was message boards were cool, but that's definitely not cool anymore.
I think everybody's trying to find the next thing because Facebook's dying, Instagram's dying. TikTok is fun, but I haven't found a way to really utilize that for what I do. I mean, I videos and things, but I haven't really found my hook there yet. So
yeah, I just joined it recently, and I have found that posting like small clips of the interviews, actually some of those do really well. So it's but you have to keep up with the new things. So I've been doing the show since 2006, and I remember early on someone was like, well, first it was Facebook, or MySpace. It was someone listening to the show, and I was like, I don't know what that is, and so I joined it. And then the Facebook group, it was a fan of ours made it. He's like, "Do you care if I make one?" I was like, "I don't care. I mean, it's probably just a fad, but what do I know?"
It's always something different out there. I kind of miss MySpace. MySpace was a lot of fun. But...
It was fun, and then I had to learn all the HTML code to make everything, and now it's worthless, but but it was cool. You could make, you could put music up there. And...
Yeah. I saw a meme not that long ago. It was somebody saying, wouldn't it be cool if when we came to our page, we could have a song playing, and then the response to it was, we've reached the generation that doesn't remember MySpace.
Yeah. I don't really like Twitter, but I guess I should use it. I don't know.
I don't get any use out of Twitter. I mean, I post on it occasionally. I use it to gripe at companies if something is like, my bill is incorrect. You can't get anybody on the phone. If you tweet, they'll answer you right away. But I just don't. The only reason I keep it is because my account is verified, and I don't want to lose that. But I just don't get any use out of it. I don't know. To me, Twitter just kind of seems like a dumpster fire. I don't.
I agree 100%. For me, I mean, I think the best way to interact is Facebook, but like you said, it seems like it's like the boomer page or something now.
Yeah. We're aging out of the internet. Right. You said I was born in 79. When did you say you were
76?
Born? So yeah, so we're basically the same age. Yeah, it's we're kind of sliding out the back door of relevancy.
So where can people find Hospital and some of your movies? Or maybe if you don't want to watch Hospital, where can they find
Don't watch The Hospital. Don't watch The Hospital. I know Camp Massacre and It's Just a Game are both on Tubi. I think everything is up for purchase on Amazon. But It's Just a Game was up on Vudu free, Vudu free with ads or whatever. But I like Tubi a lot. Dude, the Tubi app is great.
I like
Tubi's the closest thing to going to the old mom and pop video stores, because it's just the most random array of
it is a little hard to find some, but there's also something fun just scrolling through all these crazy movies, and it'll be all mismatch. It'll be this weird indie movie and then this giant mainstream movie, and there is something fun about that. Yeah.
So, but It's Just a Game. It's Just a Game is one I'm proud of. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it was kind of my takeoff of Suspiria or something like that, very Argento-esque. And, it's out there. It was a lot of fun. And, yes. And again, it's on most of the streaming platforms for purchase, but I always kind of point people toward the Tubi.
Yeah. And from what I understand, for most of my friends, Tubi pays the best for independent movies. compared to like Amazon, which
seems to be, yeah.
Amazon used to be good for indie filmmakers, but from understand, not so much anymore.
Yeah, Amazon, even as just and my cat's walking across the computer. Amazon, even just as a viewer, used to, you could find practically anything on Amazon, just part of the Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. And it's like anytime I pull anything up, it's like for purchase. And, I'm a big physical media guy. So if I'm going to buy something, I'll buy it on.
Yeah, I would like to have it, right? I agree.
I'm not going to pay $10 to own the license for something that they can pull at any moment, Yeah,
it's another thing. Just because even if you buy it, it doesn't mean it's going to be there.
Yeah.
If you buy the DVD, someone's not just going to come and take it away. I mean, I guess they could steal it, but the person you buy it from is not going to just come like, oh, you've had it for a year, now we're taking it back or something.
Yeah, and plus with Blu-rays, you get all the great supplementals. It's like I bought Spider Baby the other day. I've seen
nice. I'm a big fan
of times.
Yeah,
but I picked it up on Blu-ray, and it's got Jack Hill's first student film, The Host, as one of the special features. It's like you wouldn't see that on streaming, Here, it's like you got to have the disc.
Yeah, and I love commentary tracks, and that's a big selling point to me for getting the physical media, which unfortunately, you don't see it too much. But unlike the big releases, they usually have commentary tracks.
Commentary tracks are fun. I like behind the scenes, featurettes and everything. Yeah, it's when I watch a Blu-ray, I watch pretty much everything that's on it.
Yeah, I do too. And sometimes they have multiple commentary tracks, which I heard that you actually did a commentary track for Return of the Swamp Thing, and unfortunately, it's not on the Blu-ray.
I did. It was when they were doing the DVD release. They actually contacted me and asked if I would. So I sat down and recorded one and sent it, the MP3 files on a disc, and they didn't use it. I never heard back, so I don't know if it's just lost in the mail somewhere or they just got it and decided not to use it. But I'm actually was considering doing one just for YouTube, just for fun.
I honestly think that's
to commemorate the new release and everything.
Yeah, if you do that, let me know, and I'd be happy to put it up on the website and share it.
Yeah.
I think that would I would listen to it. I think that's a fun idea. I don't know, maybe other people do that, but I do think it's a cool idea.
Sync it up to the movie just for the fans, and just something I would enjoy doing and everything. So
yeah. I would definitely check it out. So I feel bad I've not seen Camp Massacre. So I'm going to watch your movies, and maybe we could do a part 2 sometime and talk about your films that you directed.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to.
This has been very fun. I enjoyed talking with you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I think we've been Facebook friends, for years or whatever, and good to finally, sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, it was very funny. I was watching the movie for the Jim Wynorski interview, which did not happen, but I've had Jim on before. I'm sure I can set up again. And someone, anyway, we were talking, and when you replied to me, you were seriously on my screen. And Jim Wynorski, I was listening to the commentary track, and Jim Wynorski was talking about you while you were messaging me, and it was a very strange experience. It was kind of funny.
Well, hopefully he was saying something nice about
me. He was. He talked nice about you. Yeah.
I think Enrico and I are two of the only ones that he really talks nice about. But
yeah, he did like. I think he likes Heather Locklear too.
Oh yeah. Well, Heather was so sweet. Yeah, just such a sweet lady.
All right. Well, it's been very cool. We'll do it again next time.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much, and I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.